Peter Ford, our entertainment reporter. Peter, what can you say? An amazing career, an amazing woman. She was just a beautiful person, wasn't she?
Yeah, there was just something beautiful, a niceness about her, and I don't mean that to be twee, but there was just something that was really good about her and pure. And it all began right here. It began right here in Channel 7 Melbourne. Not this actual building, to be honest, but Channel 7 Melbourne, where there was an afternoon TV show called Time for Terry. And she would turn up here in her school uniform and get changed and go on to this show and sing, very often singing alongside her singing partner, Pat Carroll, who married John Farrow, who wrote a lot of Olivia's biggest hits, including the new ones that were put into the Grease movie. But that began this extraordinary career that's gone on for so long, a career that actually began internationally with country music and then segued more into the pop music stuff. Then, of course, you've got the movies, Grease, of course, Xanadu. It's got a kind of a cult following, even though it's been much maligned by the critics. And then, as Ash indicated there, this extraordinary work where she gave back so much to raise awareness and to raise money, and this ongoing legacy, this living monument to Olivia, which is right here in Melbourne, the Olivia Newton-John Cancer and Wellness Centre, who do such extraordinary work. In more recent years, she's gone more into the natural potions and lotions, which her husband John was able to source from South America. And I've got no doubt that kept her alive a lot longer than otherwise would have been the case. It was 3.5 years ago that one of the tabloids reported that, she's got 3 weeks to live. And she got so angry by this that she got out her iPhone and recorded the piece to camera and said, "I'm doing okay. Don't believe the nonsense. Don't write the nonsense." So that's the kind of person she was, ploughing on and doing her best. Now, the last interview that she gave, I believe, was at the very beginning of this year, done for Japanese television. And this is a very poignant thing to be showing right now, but she was actually asked in it how she does want to be remembered. This is Olivia Newton-John.
When people ask you what's the legacy of Olivia Newton-John, what would you like that to be?
One word, positivity, I guess, but I'd like to think that I made a difference in helping people heal from cancer.
Now, Olivia has not been seen out and about for a couple of years, actually. There was always a fear that she would get COVID. So she's pretty much been stuck at the ranch in Malibu, which is a beautiful ranch, I might add, but she more or less was confined there. Obviously, stage 4 breast cancer, which she had, and that had metastasised. Getting COVID would not be a good outcome. So she has been really somewhat reclusive, apart from immediate family. And even on social media, for a while there, she was extremely active, doing pieces to camera. She hadn't done anything now for several months, and the word had been around that things weren't going well. So it's quite remarkable that less than 24 hours ago on the morning show, I said there are 2 people in this industry in all the years I've been around who I've never heard one single word about. And yesterday I was referring to Judith Durham, and the other person was, who I mentioned, Olivia Newton-John. 2 beautiful people, 2 extraordinarily talented women who not only had great careers, but gave back to the world as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pete, what a career. Started back in the Johnny O'Keefe days, didn't you, on his show. Peter Allen wrote a number of the early hits as well. Didn't he co-write I Honestly Love You? Which
that was John Farrow, I think. Could be wrong. But, Olivia's career in many ways is sort of a bit all over the place, because she really started off doing country music, then pop music, then she got a bit into the disco, then she had Physical, which was almost like a big comeback for her. But she was always around, and she was always ploughing on, no matter what life threw at her. And obviously there is the battle, her own health battles for 30 years. Then you've got great moments of sadness, like the loss of her husband Patrick. And not only was that a terrible thing, he died as a result of falling off this boat and drowned, but then for years after that she had to put up with all this nonsense that went on with it.
Amazing career over so many years, and to have that enormous success. When you look at all her songs over from the 60s, the 70s,
portrayed in the mini-series that was made for 24/7, which Delta Goodrem starred in. And so she credited Helen Reddy for often helping her there. Helen, of course, has already left us. But I might add, that's a great story with the mini-series. She wasn't thrilled about that being made, I've got to tell you. She didn't like the idea. But, of course, the producers didn't want to get her offside and have her sort of bad-mouthing it. So she said to them, I'll do a deal with you. I'll put up with it, but all the money that is made out of selling the soundtrack of the show goes to my cancer and wellness centre. So, don't mess with Olivia. She was very sweet. She was very nice. But if she could find a way to make money that was going to benefit one of her charities, she would do it.
Yeah, and she broke into America as a country singer, quite controversially, was it? Because there's a bit of an uproar that how can you get an Australian or a non-American singing country and western? And I think it was Dolly Parton's sister, was it, went into bat for her.
Absolutely.
And that changed her career. Yeah,
she was accepted as suddenly a country music singer, and then she wasn't doing that anymore. And of course, the movies are the thing that, Grease after all these years, and it's not the greatest movie, let's face it, but it gets people.
Peter!
Hello.
Well, it's fun. It's fun.
Who hasn't dressed up as Daddy and Sandy and gone to a school trivia night as them?
Yeah. Well, there's another great example of what Olivia will do. A couple of years ago, she said, you know what, I'm getting rid of all this stuff. I'm getting rid of the jacket. I'm getting rid of the leather pants. And obviously, the money was going to her various charities. So that's the sort of thing she's been doing a lot of, actually, in recent years, going through the cupboards and selling off stuff. Chloe, of course, is a very sweet young lady. She's had her troubles. She's a very talented girl. I'm hugely confident that in the last couple of years she's really got it together, and she is absolutely, her mum's daughter, and she'll be fine. It's going to be tough, obviously, but this day obviously had to arrive at some point. So in many ways, I'm sure they are prepared for what's going to unfold in the next couple of days, but at the same time, of course, it always still hits you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, Peter, you, as we do, meet a lot of performers and have met over the years. She was an old-fashioned professional, wasn't she, Olivia?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She had, she believed in everything being done properly. I remember being with her here in Melbourne. They did a stage version in a tent, I think it was, of Xanadu, and she agreed to attend the opening, and I was chatting to her at that, and her eye was trained. She was saying, I think they need to improve the lighting in that scene. And I think if that character on the left was further, she had an eye for show business.
Wow.
But, she would never do those things in a way to be mean. It was always in a very, very positive way of suggesting something could be done in a much better way. Gee, this is going to be such a sad day for Australia, and it's kind of like our Princess Diana moment. It's someone so universally loved, someone who gave back so much, and now, even though we knew it couldn't end well, it suddenly does arrive.
Pete, she gave us all so much joy, but also it's rare that a performer touches a country. We were proud of her too, weren't we?
Oh, absolutely.
And what she stood for, her values, they were, even though she was born in the UK, came to Australia at a very young age.
Cliff Richard, great friends. Loads of people were very close to Olivia, and those people, I'm sure, were going to have nothing but beautiful words to say about her.
Yeah.
And one of her biggest audiences, Peter, may have been, I guess, the opening of the Sydney Olympics. I think, 3.5 billion people when she teamed up with John Farnham.
Yeah, well, once again, big event. We've got to have Olivia there. It was almost like, she's almost like our royalty. But she'd laugh about all this stuff. She had such a funny sort of self-deprecating humour. And in fact, in the last, as I said, over the last few months, she hasn't been doing anything. But if you go to her Instagram page, almost every second day she was getting out her camera and recording her stuff, and you can see her there laughing about herself, and often she's pushing various things she's helping to sell, very often for family members, businesses they're starting up. She would always try and pitch in and do something to help someone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Pete, wonderful memories. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you regularly throughout the show as we pay tribute to the life of Olivia Newton-John.